Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar, Leading Together, the Power of Collaborative EdTech Leadership. This program is sponsored by NetRef, a powerful internet management tool that helps educators monitor classroom internet use, keep students focused on learning, and determine the true ROI of EdTech investments. Before we begin the webinar, I'll just review a few quick logistics. We will be accepting questions throughout the program, and we'll hold a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. You can send your questions to me as they come up for you using the questions feature in your control panel. Type your question into the top box and then push send. I'll get your question and I'll put it into the queue to be answered at the end. If you experience any technical difficulties during the webinar, please use that same questions feature to get my attention, and I'll do my best to resolve the problem for you. We will be sharing a recording of the webinar along with the presentation slides, so keep an eye on your email inbox tomorrow for details on how to access those materials. If for some reason that email ends up in your junk folder, which does happen from time to time, you can also check out the NetRef website, which is at net-ref.com, and we'll be posting them there in the resources section. Now let's get started. I'm pleased to welcome today's speaker, Naomi Harm. Naomi is founder and CEO of Innovative Educator Consulting Company and is an educational technology thought leader and influencer. Her experience stems from many years serving as a 4th and 5th grade teacher and technology coach and an EdTech director. Naomi has also held positions with education businesses including Wonder Workshop, Dell, and Intel. In addition to her work with education and education business leaders, Naomi is a QNGSS education specialist, ISTE faculty instructional coach, Google certified innovator, and woman in leadership coach and mentor. She's also a frequent speaker at national and international conferences. Naomi is passionate about educational leadership and EdTech integration, so we are thrilled to have her with us here today to share some of her insights and best practices around the concept of collaborative EdTech leadership. So Naomi, are you ready to get us started?
I am, Emily, and thank you so much for the wonderful opportunity today. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining and taking time out of your busy and chaotic day, as I know it is this springtime of year where you are trying to wrap up the amazing school year, but also leading forward to looking at best practices of how to find those powerful collaborative EdTech leadership strategies to coach your team to make EdTech and wise decisions. So as we are here today, I'd like to continue on to share with you that at any given time, please feel free to continue to reach out to me. Would love to further the conversation with you to guide your practices, or I can further share research information with you of the best practices to support your team with whichever technology leadership initiative that you are focusing on. Now, today's session, we're going to really looking at the powerful practice of how we as an admin leadership team can lead together. And that admin leadership team really encompasses when we talk about superintendents, school board members, when we're talking about parent and community members, but we're also talking about teacher leaders and IT directors and even your student council members, and having your students have a voice to make the change to be part of that technology leadership vision. Now, the bigger piece that we'll be talking about today is that we will have a 3-prong approach of looking at practices of how we can lead together to focus on the return on investment and the total cost of ownership when it comes to technology EdTech initiatives within your school district. So the bigger piece of the puzzle here today is what can you do as a collaborative team to focus on strategies and solutions to really maximize the investment of your technology decisions that you're currently making, but also take a deeper dive into the critical impact of purchases that you've already made and to see, are they really worth the effort? And is that investment making change with instructional approaches with teachers? Is it making a difference on student achievement? And is it helping you as an admin leader with efficiency and productivity to make change to move your entire school district forward? We'll also look at the current research, and research really gives us a critical insight into change, into trends and also collaborative solutions of what we should be doing to transform teaching and practices to really impact the immediate learning needs of today's learner. Because as many as you know, our Gen Z students that are current students in the K-12 system right now learn much differently than our children did even 5, 6, or 7 years ago. So we need to look at those research trends to making sure that we're making critical and wise decisions with technology investments, whether it's related to one-to-one initiatives, whether it's software deployments and implementations, whether it's student information management systems, and the bigger picture. How is it preparing our students for future-ready career goals, whether it's to enter the workforce, enter a two-year technical college or trade school, or to continue on with a 4-year university degree? Now, the third prong to this is we're going to be looking at data-driven results. And this is really important because this is going to be our change factor when we look at how is the data telling the story of how it's transforming the meaningful learning experiences with all of your constituents and your stakeholders besides your K-12 staff and students. Why that's important is because how much that we invest on the front end with technology is going to prepare us for how efficient and productive we are of how students are grasping the technology, putting it into practice, and being successful when they graduate to be successful in their careers. We'll also be looking at strategies of how can we truly empower and guide today's teacher with teaching for a purpose and practical application to ensure that they're meeting the needs of today's Gen Z students, but also are their skills and technology literacy skill sets truly up to speed to empower and make a learning difference with all students. And then lastly, we'll be really looking at, are we meeting the needs of today's students? And I'm going to keep bringing that up because once again, our children in today's K-12 environments learn and interact with content so much differently than students did of 5 years ago. We also know that their brains have changed so much because they really want to interact with content through snapshot learning. And that snapshot learning means that they do not want to be lectured at. They do not want to listen to 45-minute overviews of new content. They want brief introductions on the front end. They want to dabble, explore, and learn with a teammate or partner. But then they also want to dive deeper into the content to have it more personalized and given them a choice of the tool or the technology resource to process that information at their learning pace. And that truly, that personalized learning connection and of choice, and in snapshot, we call it snackable chunks of learning, that by breaking it down into modular or granular pieces, will allow for children to process complex data more easily, put it into practice to show what they know, but also will have more evidence of how you can document the student achievement factor that they have retained and can speak knowledgeably about the new concepts. Now, leadership is all about all of you that are attending this webinar today. And your leadership really tells us a story. And I love this quote from Sheryl Sandberg, is leadership is about making others better as a result of your presence and making sure that impact lasts in your absence. So this content knowledge that we're sharing with you today is to guide you and to provide you a learning path of making critical results to make a difference in how you lead, how you influence, and how you can change the learning outcome for your school district to truly make a lasting impact. And that's what it's all about, because our job is to best serve our customers. And our customers are our K-12 students and the parents of those students. And we want to ensure that we are doing the best for them to create a workforce that is going to make a global and positive impact for generations to come. Now, we also talked about the students as our customers, and we need to make sure that we're meeting their needs because they have so many diverse needs. And also our parents. Our parents are demanding more transparency from K through 12 schools than they ever have before. They want to know what type of technology that you're using. They want to know if the technology is making an impact personally with their child, but they also want to make sure of how this type of practice is relevant to the child's life to prepare them for their career and workforce when they leave the K-12 learning space. So what we need from you as admin leaders is we need to make sure that we are inviting the right individuals to the table and that everybody has an opportunity to lean in. And that means we need to invite strong, influential, communicative, collaborative, diverse leadership teams that are composed of men and women and active students and parents and our admin leaders with a combination of our support staff and IT directors or coordinators. So it becomes quite diverse, but we need to ensure that their voices are being heard. There is choice in the learning opportunity, but we need to make sure that we're getting the critical data, the trends in research to make sound decisions to improve the K through 12 system. Now, many of you already know this. We are facing so many challenges in the K through 12 learning space. Our economy is forever changing, and that is something that's always going to be constant. But what we have discovered in the last how many years is that our budgets in the public school system, and even if you're with the private sector, we are doing much more with less because the funding has been cut so substantially. So we've got to be very creative, but very critical of how and where and why we spend money with technology. Now, we also know that the federal government has done some major cuts in EdTech funding and programs, especially now that we also know in the last few months it's been known from special education to the title dollars, but also in the EdTech realm as well. What's really, really important is that our constituents and stakeholders, that are our parents and community members, are demanding more transparency than ever before because they want to be active components to support schools, but they want to know where their tax dollars are going and how they're spent wisely to make a difference so that K through 12 schools are producing academically gifted and ready and prepared for the world to learn of our students to help them in their current and job workforce. Now, there's so much going on. When we talk about the immediacy, we're talking right here, right now. And when it comes to that, our students are demanding immediacy, whether it comes to feedback, whether it comes to interactions with teachers, whether it comes to interactions with admin leaders. They want to be part of the solution. They want their voice to be heard. So why it's so important is because many of our students are actively participating already at the middle school, high school, and they want to be part of the future career ready movement. They want to be part of the school system that helps solve these technology shortfalls. That's why their voice is so important. They also would like to know, why are we purchasing some of this digital curriculum and teaching resources that they may feel it's not helping them? So it's important that we do hear their voice when they say, what does this do for me? Is it relevant, and how am I going to use it in my next journey beyond the K through 12 scope? But it's really important that we're choosing the best tool to get the job done, whether it's for reporting, whether it's for curriculum and data documentation, or whether it's for even IEP, those individual education plan reports for our children with special needs. What can we do for them that we're making the best decision with the digital tools and resources that we're buying? But most importantly, it's great that we get people prepared and involved on the front end to be part of this process. And that if you purchase sound technology systems and resources and tools, but if you don't prepare our teachers for ongoing, relevant, and just-in-time professional learning and development, it will all be wasted. So that's why it's important to have a collaborative educational leadership team so that you have a voice at the table to making sure that the PD is truly embedded seamlessly into all of these components of when you prepare and to do your technology audits, your purchasing, and your documentation of how we know that we are really helping our students and that it's moving the needle on that student achievement documentation. Now, the collaborative EdTech team strategies, as many of you know already, communication and collaboration are key. And when something falls short, something doesn't work, it usually always results because we have failed somewhere in the communication realm, or somebody thought they told somebody, or somebody thought they shared something, and then it didn't occur. So we have to be more transparent, especially when it comes to communication. And that's the only effective tool that we really have control of. So to being proactive to build those relationships with those team members. We also need to make sure that your team that you build has got to be a quality representation from all sectors of K through 12. When I've worked with schools, when we've looked at bigger teams that we've done the visioning planning process, we have made sure that we have teachers that represent inclusively from the elementary, the middle school, the high school, parents, community, and we have students from the student council members that are a part of that. It's so important to have students to be at that table. We also need to have a very diverse team. We need to have an equal balance of strong women and strong men to bring in their relevant practices, their expertise, and what they have seen firsthand from being an instructional leader in the classroom. It's also important to have those IT directors and also to have any paraprofessionals or staff support, because as many of us have in schools, our IT directors sometimes have a degree that's only related to software and hardware. And it's important that we have leaders that have the educational background as well, because we need to get people talking together so people are more open-minded of understanding how the IT infrastructure world works and how the curriculum and teaching approaches work. We've got to get everybody on the same page, and that's why we need to have an extremely diverse team when you create these collaborative ed tech strategies for your team members, when you're really looking at those total cost of investments for technology, and also to get the story of what's working and what's not working with your technology investments. Now, I want to share with you some excellent resources that are of no cost to you. And for I, as a technology leader, I go back to these research proven strategies frequently because they are constantly updated. They're giving you the most relevant information, and it's capturing stories from the field, and it's helping me know how to guide administrative leadership teams of where we should be going, of how we plan from year 1, year 3, year 5, and even up to year 10, and how to plan for this. What I really appreciate about COSN in general is that COSN is an EdTech leading organization that prepares us to showcase what the research provides us. It lets us know everything about the current practices that are really moving the needle for total cost of ownership when it comes to technology. But it talks about the very, very importance of why it's so important to build those human capacity of leaders, of the relationship focus, why that's still so important. but it also talks about how to address challenges and how to address success stories and how to do a backwards design of incorporating design thinking to make it 10 times better. Or if something's not working, what we really got to get rid of and what we do have to start over with. But what I really like is the personalization of how COSN approaches challenges when it comes to ed tech in general, of how schools from even a rural-sized school district, a very, very small population, to an urban-sized school district, to a school district that is the largest in the nation. And how do we impact teaching and learning practices and choosing the best tech tool to get the job done? But most importantly, the learning is a central focus. We talk about the learning. Learning should always be the most important concept here, no matter what type of technology. How is it going to impact the learning of a teacher, the learning of an administrative leader, the learning of our students? And how do we empower our students to be the creators, to be the change agents that are going to support our global workforce in years to come? So if you haven't, please tap into these amazing resources from COSN, and I've included the links here, even of the most recent survey results of looking into basically a window of schools of your scope and your magnitude so that you don't feel like you're alone. You've got an inside picture now of how to converse with others, to share your stories and get proven results. So you don't have to start at ground zero. You can jumpstart right in the middle and say, hey, we've already gone through this hoop jumping contest already. Let's go here and let's try this initiative now because we've got this strong foundation already solidified. Now, another great resource, and this was just released as of yesterday. So you're getting the best and greatest tool. Every single year, the Horizon report is generated with results from school districts over the entire nation. And lots of research, lots of studies, and lots of surveys are collated in this. And what I love so much about the Horizon report is that it really gives you just in time of the latest research trends. It gives you up-to-date challenges of what K through 12 schools of every magnitude are currently facing of like this year in 2019. It also talks about the important developments of EdTech, where we're going, where we've come from, and how do we prepare for 5 or 10 years out. But most importantly as well, it really addresses the teaching and learning environment and how we can creatively inquire about the next steps of how to prepare and plan for the next technology initiative. So this is a one-stop shop that's going to really help you guidance, give you clear focus, and connect with relevant leaders by tomorrow and to reach out to those individuals. So this is an excellent guide. Now, one of my other favorites that is just huge to help your team for your collaborative ed tech team strategies, and keep this one in your back pocket because this is always updated. K12 Blueprint, and as you can see, I have the link there for you, has got so many just inclusive strategies, which encompasses digital learning toolkits, relevant research trends that actually does a backwards design with the New Horizon report that I just shared with you, and so many relevant case studies, especially when it comes to one-to-one initiatives, BYOD, when it comes to also RTI, when it comes to teacher professional development, focuses on blended and online learning, personalized learning, and everything STEM. So when we talk about science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But what's brilliant about this particular resource is that the toolkits I really like. So here's kind of like, looks like a honeycomb on the right side. Those are all toolkits, meaning that if I need to create a new policy, in the policy toolkit, it has got all kinds of great learning examples and templates that you can take and retrofit according to your size or your initiative for your school. It also will help you with infrastructure, meaning where do I start if I need to revamp our Wi-Fi and our network infrastructure? Where do I even begin? So what I really like about it again, templates and tools, so you don't have to start from ground zero. You're learning with other schools that have gone through this mundane process to help you to be more successful and to help you with efficiency and productivity in getting your team up to speed so quickly. And again, the cost is zero. This is just wonderful free tools that have been put into place because in past have been grant funded and have been paid for through different types of initiatives that are still there for you and that are very, very relevant. Here's a screenshot of some of just an initiative of the K-12 Blueprint case studies. I refer to this a lot that when I'm talking with school districts and when they're starting up a one-to-one, and you may think, my goodness, Naomi, haven't our schools been at a one-to-one for quite a while? Well, not necessarily. You might have a one-to-one at your high school, or you may just have a one-to-one at your middle school. But now you're thinking, should we move it down into the elementary grade levels? What is best for a one-to-one approach for an third, fourth, or fifth grade focus? How do we implement that? Because third, fourth, and fifth graders are much different than high schoolers and middle school kids. So how do we go about that? So these particular studies you can see are all kinds of different sizes. Like one of the from Hillsborough County started out at 210,000 students, but then there's another one-to-one when we talk about 46,000 students. What does that look like? And how do I choose also the best learning management system to support a true one-to-one? Do I go the Microsoft world? Do I go the Google Suite world? What do we do? So I love these initiatives because it tells a story. And the story is basically the hook to get you interested of choosing the best case study that really aligns to what your initiatives are, because your initiative is much different than your neighboring school district initiative because you have different strategic plans. Now, also we've got other smaller class sizes that you'll have too. You'll see some, or I should say smaller ones from like in Alabama, on the East Coast, on the West Coast, and then right down the middle of the Midwest. So again, it paints the story to get your entire collaborative EdTech leadership team up to speed. It helps also build a common vocabulary of terminology, because a lot of times when you're creating these collaborative EdTech leadership teams, you're throwing all these acronyms around. And in education, we are known well for acronyms. So because of that, we need to get up to speed of what does that word mean, or what does that acronym mean, and how does it impact me as a teacher versus an IT director? Now, some other things to think about your collaborative EdTech team strategies is that you cannot do it all. You can create the best of the best, wonderful collaborative EdTech leadership teams, but you still need a vibrant industry partner to help you to do that data analysis on the back end, because we don't have enough woman power or manpower to run those analytics to get the results that we're looking for. So I want to share with you that I've gotten some insight from NetRev, and they do quite a digital analysis to give you that overview of EdTech ROI on leadership guidance. So they are one of many, but they have done an amazing job in the K-12 learning space. What I really like from what I've investigated myself and done the research on is that they do truly prepare comprehensive and data usage reports that are in K-12 terms and language that I can interpret to share out as a teacher, or if I'm a student on the high school council, or if I'm a parent, or if I am an admin leader. I'm looking at the data, and it's going to share with me the challenges that we're running into of our current technology investments. It's also going to help guide me of looking at where the loopholes are or the gaps of where we need to put our support and energy if we need to purchase a new technology focus or an initiative or a tool to help meet the learner's needs. So it's all focused on the learner, and that's what I really like about it. The other data analysis that you have as well, I really like about the device management and the classroom monitoring, because a lot of times, let's say that we've implemented a one-to-one And we have Classroom A that's doing a great job implementing the one-to-one and are doing some really amazing project-based approach activities with students. But then Classroom 2 is only using those devices maybe once or twice throughout the week. We can do a full analysis on that too with this type of NetRev system that's in place, because that data analysis can show you where the technology is used, how it's used, and how creatively it's used with student learning. And again, that's what it's about. And the monitoring will also help you with saving those technology dollars, because if you're seeing that the teachers are not using the technology, there's got to be a reason why. And if we haven't had that conversation, let's look at the data. Is it because maybe our laptops are too old, or the Chromebooks are too old, or maybe it's a tablet device that you're using? Maybe it is a software program that you're using for ESL or ELL, and it's not being utilized to its greatest potential to help our children that are speaking another language, and that English is not their first language. So those data results are going to really help us, and that's what I like about the reports that NetRev gives. It gives us a very big picture to tell the story of your unique individual school district. Now, some other things that you may want to look to for anyone that is an industry partner that comes in, but you really need to document which tech tools are being utilized, which are used effectively, which are not working, and you need to find out that why. And a lot of times the why comes because the teachers have not had enough professional development to support the consistency and the confidence for that teacher to introduce that particular tool in the classroom. That's what it comes down to a lot of the time. They have not had enough time or enough guidance or enough coaching to help them. We also need to make sure that we are spending our money wisely within a school district. And there's only so much money that we can use for EdTech. So we have to make critical and wise decisions. And if something is not being utilized, then why are we renewing those subscription services time and time again? It's like throwing water, or I should say, throwing the money just out with the water, and it's like that cannot be happening. So we've got to make these critical decisions with this. Now, the other thing that also is very, very important is it making a difference in the teaching approaches with teachers? Is it making a difference in the learning environments with kids? Because if you can see a direct correlation in the data analysis that it's not increasing student achievement in a particular subject area, we've got to really take a hard look at that then and saying, is this technology doing the best? Or is there a different way that we could be investing our dollars in another program? Or if it's something that we should be doing differently. So again, we never want to waste that technology. But we do need a strong industry partner that's focused on K-12 education to help us tell your district story of the why and the how and where you're going with your technology investments. Now, some other things that I really would like to share with you too is really important about how to empower teachers and to teach differently when it comes to technology. And this is a quote that I use a lot with the teachers, and sometimes they don't even realize their relevance of a learning impact that they make for students for years to come. And it's a teacher is a catalyst that can ignite a child's intrinsic motivation to pursue new learning pathways for a lifetime. She can never tell where her influence stops. And I can even attest to that, because when I've talked to past students that I have personally worked with, they always bring up teaching and learning scenarios that we interacted with. And it usually had something involving around the technology and the global collaboration project. And it gave them a bigger perspective of a meaningful learning activity. And because of that, we as teachers don't know why and how we've influenced those children. But when they become adults and they choose their career paths, something truly resonated with that child that was influenced by a teacher. So we need to make sure that even those technology investments, we need to invest in our teachers so that they are confident, they are comfortable, and that they can influence children to make best decisions for years to come that they cannot see. So when we look at research on teaching practices, here's a few questions I would like to ask you. So how are EdTech tools and resources improving teacher instruction? Have you asked that of your K through 12 staff? Can they come back to you with a meaningful answer? I wonder what their answers would be. They'd be interesting to introduce into a next staff meeting. I'd like to see that evidence. I'd like to hear those stories. I'd like to see the products that they're creating. But when I talk with principals around the nation right now, and this particular picture actually came from the Wisconsin Slate Conference, and this is school leaders advancing technology and education in Wisconsin in December this past year, this really spoke to me. And this particular quote came from the Speak Up Tomorrow snapshot survey, and it says the top issue facing school principals today, relative to the use of technology with learning, they want to know how to motivate and train their teachers to change their instructional practices to become more seamlessly integrated, to integrate that technology into the instruction. A lot of times teachers just see technology for technology's sake. They don't see how it can help them become more proactive in their instructional approaches, as meaning how can I introduce more seamless technology formative assessments? How can I provide more choice and voice of learning with technology integration learning centers? How can I be more inclusive of integrating more STEM in the classroom and having kids pursue a personal driven passion that I may not even be aware of as a teacher, but a student really prevails in that area? So I'm going to also share with you the research on teaching practices. The Project Tomorrow Speak Up survey is a free survey that you as administrative leaders can be part of every single fall. The results are generated by the end of January, February. It gives you a nationwide perspective, but it also gives you your individual data results for your particular school district, or you can break it apart by each school in your system. The Speak Up Tomorrow snapshot surveys are free, and then you can get the nationwide perspective, and then you can get an overview for you as a district. But if you're looking at individual schools and more data-driven analysis, then there is a small fee for that. But this is one of the best survey tools that I as a teacher leader have used with school districts when making sound decisions when it comes to technology purchases, having a voice from students and parents, and from teachers and also admin leaders. And it really gives you an overview of how students are learning, where and why they learn best, and what they're looking for and what types of experiences are they asking and requesting of your admin leader team. Now, another perspective on the Project Tomorrow Speak Up tools, again, this is wonderful that you can get the survey data, but it will give you data analysis too, and it will represent it in all kinds of different chart formations. But it's really focused on the learning, not so much of the heavier data analysis on the technology of the support and software in your school system. So it's another way to get more data analytics to help tell your bigger picture of your story of where your school is at. I really like it because it does guide you as a school leader about the latest and greatest mobile learning initiatives, but it really listens to the critical voice of each and every one of your students of the learning experiences that they're looking for. Some other research reports that I've mentioned earlier, and I'm going to reiterate it again, but that K12 New Horizon report, not only is it a K12 focus, they also have the university focus. So it's really nice because if you're focusing on something as an initiative at your high school, you're looking how it segues into the technical college or the university world. It's helping you prepare your students truly to have that leap in that connection that they are prepared. Because when I work with university officials and professors that are there, they will always tell me, they say there's such a lack of communication between K through 12 and the university system. How can we improve that? And how can we better prepare our students at the high school to be more prepared for what we are providing them at the university level? So again, the communication, that's where it's critical. Once again, I love it because of the national case studies that are included. It really helps you know what emerging technologies are relevant right now, what's coming next year 3, year 4, and year 5, so you can plan and prepare. But it gives you a guide and a roadmap of how to plan and implement these strategies, and what should we be looking at as a comparison as a nationwide as a whole. But then how does your school district compare to another school district of your size? Now, some other great strategies that I wanted to share with you today is I am a facilitator for ISTE, and ISTE stands for the International Society for Technology and Education. This is the educational organization that sets the nationwide standards for technology literacy. So they have standards for administrators, for coaches, for STEM, for teachers, for students. Again, they provide for us, what does it look like as a snapshot in your classroom of what a technology literate classroom looks like at K through 2, 3 through 5, 6 through 8, and 9 through 12. It also provides you case studies of what the teaching truly looks like and the learning looks like for the students. ISTE also has so many online mobile learning communities that are known as PLNs, which is your professional learning network. And it's a way for teachers to build relationships globally with teachers, not just nationally, globally with all countries and all continents. And what I like about that, it opens up an opportunity for teachers to expand their teaching and learning worlds. It gives them an opportunity to converse with other teachers that are struggling with the same implementations, from curriculum to assessment to technology, and find a best practice to help them to meet them where they're currently at. So again, ISTE.org/standards, and you can access these standards for free, and the case studies are for free, and the PLNs are free. Yes, you can join this organization. There's a yearly membership if you choose to do that, but there's a great selection of so many things that are free here. Now, another best practice to support your initiatives, I mentioned earlier, but I'm going to kind of reroute it again, to support teachers now when we talk about teaching and learning. Those K12 Blueprint toolkits are amazing. And instead of you reinventing the wheel, this is where everything is done for you, and then you can tweak it according to your strategic plan and initiative of your particular school. So again, if you're redesigning classroom learning spaces and you're talking about flexible learning spaces, they've got a whole section just on active learning spaces. It talks about how to best meet kids with the brain in mind. What do we do for project-based learning approaches when we redesign spaces, and so on. How about if we're going to go with more open source curriculum? So that OER initiative and digital curriculum. What do we do to move everything online? What does that look like? How do I help myself as an admin leader to make the best decision of what type of cloud resource, a computing resource that we need to store it in? And how do we deliver that back out through an LMS, which is a learning management system? But again, this is a one-stop shop that's going to totally change your life. It really helps me as an educational leader when I work with school boards and superintendents and principals, and to help them be more productive and proactive when implementing a technology leadership initiative. Again, one more screenshot from K through 12 just on case studies. So as you can see, a new selection from Pasadena. What does it look like when we're implementing a one-to-one? What are classroom management strategies? What do I do if we're involving a whole Windows-based platform? What does my curriculum look like? How do I, as a teacher, improve my instructional approach? And what is my response time for immediacy to meet the needs of Gen Z students? So again, more one-to-ones that are here. What they've done to start small with small pilots and then bridge into larger concepts of full implementations. But again, these case studies tell a story, so you don't have to feel like you're alone. There's so much that's out there that's relevant. that can help you support your initiatives where you're at. Now, once again, we're here for the students, right? And our students, it's all about their learning. So student learning experiences are an exploratorium of quest to activate the curious and inquisitive mind. Our students are our best customers. They are relevant. They are honest. They have a voice. They truly tell us like it is. And because of that, we want to make sure that we're meeting their needs, but we need to interest and excite and inspire their learning, that they want to come to school every day, that they want to meet you at the door and say, what are we going to learn today? Or how can I be part of this learning? Or where can I help? We've got to ignite that passion for learning in each and every one of our students and at each and every grade level. Because of that, this is where that data-driven learning experiences come into play. Project Tomorrow, again, is so very, very, very important. If you haven't, please get involved. It's free. It takes not only just up to 20 to 30 minutes to complete the survey, but it will be the best survey results that you will ever receive as a K-12 leader. I really like this as well because it really also gives you reports back on the equity and access of resources for your teachers, students, and also for you as admin leaders. It really gives a voice to teachers and students so they can share what their needs are that maybe you're clearly not hearing them otherwise. The 2018 report is there. You can click on that link as well. You will get the full report and you will see what children are asking for in their learning and why they're asking for it. You'll also see the challenges teachers are facing, but you'll also see the tremendous success stories of celebration. So again, if you haven't been part of this, this is one thing I really hope that you can tap into this fall. Now, these data-driven learning experiences are so very important, but do you truly know what types of meaningful learning experiences that your teachers are creating for your students? When's the last time that you walked into a classroom just to be an active participant and a student again yourself? If you haven't, I'd advise you to step in and be part of that learning and be a kid again and ask the kids more questions of what and how and where we can meet their needs. Another great resource for really supporting student-centered learning in the classroom is coming from Tom Van Ark, which is called Getting Smart. What I like from this Getting Smart edition that he blogs about, he really does a great job collating information from his team about the relevant best practices of what it looks like in a student-centered learning environment and what our kids are asking for in their learning. And there are some great simple checklists that are built into this that can help you as an admin leader to support your teachers to get them started and thinking about the what ifs. Are you doing this in your classroom? Are you empowering students to be teacher leaders? Are you co-teaching with another teacher? What can you do to change the physical space to actually activate more brain-based thinking and learning and visual thinking in your classroom? So again, I've included that free resource for you. And these wonderful little checklists and guides will just help create more meaningful conversations to build stronger relationships in your EdTech collaborative leadership teams. Now, something that's been around for a while, and now that I live in Arizona, that I'm very passionate about this as well. But this really strives on really looking at data-driven learning experiences for teachers and what the learning environment should look like for the teacher, but most importantly, what the learning should look like for your students. Because even though we work with an industry partner and they can help us with all of these wonderful data analysis of telling us about what technology is being used, what isn't, they also can give us a snapshot into the learning experiences. So because of that, this is another tool to align to the industry partner that you work with to say, we want these types of learning experiences to be taking place. I like the word choice on here. And if you look at this, it's almost like setting it up as your Likert scale. I mean, entry level, adoption, adaptation, infusion, and transformation. So when you're working with an industry partner, you need to tell your story of what type of learning you want it to look like, and that can match up with those end results. And we need to make sure of what it looks like for students. Is it active? Is it collaborative? Or is it only an environment where the teacher is still the sage on the stage and she's truly not guiding her students with collaborative and inclusive learning options for choice in the classroom? So again, this is a free matrix. This is just a very small snapshot that I'm giving you. It is comprehensive, and you're going to be blown away of how this has been set up. But I use this when I talk with teachers, and they usually identify themselves on one of the quadrants here, and they'll say, yep, I'm here. I'm kind of at the adoption stage that I'm trying to use that tool-based software. And it might be that my students have opportunities, but I would really like to empower my students to be proactive with making more active choices based on their personal experiences, but based on what they're interested in. So we try to get the teachers to move to that next level every time that we work with them if we're doing school-based coaching. So this is a great tool and an indicator of aligning of where your teachers are at and where your students are at for meaningful learning experiences. Now, some other things to think about those questions. I mentioned the Project Speak Up Tomorrow survey, and again, a tremendous, tremendous tool that you have to tap into. But again, how are you engaging with Gen Z students to really ensure their voice is being included? And that Project Tomorrow report is going to give you a lot of voice, and it may be eye-opening for many of you because it's going to share what students are thinking, and they really put it out there. And I think sometimes we as admin leaders and adults, we need to step back, and we do need to process that, and we do need to listen to our students because they're living in a whole different digitized world than what we ever did. Again, supportive scenarios here. This is coming out from ISTE that complements the Speak Up Tomorrow survey and all of the other tools from COSN and also the New Horizon report. But ISTE also has so many wonderful tools when we talk about the ISTE standards, but these are scenarios. These are snapshots of learning of what it can look like in your classroom, that when we choose the right tool to get the job done with technology, what types of just celebrations of learning could look like in your classroom. So they do snapshots of learning for grades, again, K through 2, 3 through 5, 6 through 8, and 9 through 12. And what I like about this is that they're using the design thinking process. They are challenged with a problem that is currently taking place, and they go through the design thinking steps to ideate a new solution and create a prototype, and then a working test scenario. And then they go back, if it fails, they go back and reiterate it again and to create something new and better. So again, this comes along with the student profiles, and this is a great, great little booklet that they provide that I say this is a must-have too, because teachers are always also looking for exemplar teaching examples. They need to know, well, you're telling me I need to be more involved with this technology. I need to make it more collaborative. I need to make it more inclusive. But what does it look like? So these are the exemplar examples to share and have your teachers actually go through so they understand what you're talking about. Another thing too, when we talk about those K through 2, 3 through 5, 6 through 8, and 9 through 12, those are those age band articulations that I'm referring to. And this aligns well with the standards. So one of the standards here is the empowered learner. Well, you may say, okay, what does an empowered learner look like in today's world? Well, when I look at that, it gives me the big picture overview that actually the students are leveraging the technology. They're the ones taking the active role in choosing, achieving, and demonstrating the competency. But also, students will be able to voice and articulate their own professional and personal learning goals. Now, some of you are going to say, oh my goodness, how do I ever get there? Well, it's because we have to create that framework to help them. And because of that, that's where those age band articulations, and when I go back one step, the scenarios come into place of critical thinking and project-based learning opportunities for students to support your technology investments. Now, lastly, like I'd like to share with you again, we went over a lot of different scenarios today, but the three main issues that I talked about, or three main areas. We talked about collaborative strategies to beef up your team. We talked about current research and trends. We talked about the data-driven results and why the importance to have a quality industry partner to be behind you in this initiative so that you can get the data results to make critical, wise, and your return on investment decisions. And because of that, we really have to focus on those four main areas to make change in any type of technology initiative that you're currently looking to futuristically, or even currently that you're working on that you're running into trouble with, of the why to tell your school story. So I want to take an opportunity now to say thank you so very much for your time and your effort for attending today. And I hope that you can walk away with many different new learning options here, but focus on one or two, use them very well to start the conversation, to influence your collaborative leadership team, to have a stronger relationship that you can facilitate with your team to make the change that you're looking forward to. I look forward to hearing from you and any further questions that you may have.
Thank you so much, Naomi. This was so interesting, and you gave us so many wonderful resources. I know I'm excited to dive into a lot of them, as are the folks in our audience. So I want to reassure everyone that they are going to get a copy of the slide deck, so they'll be able to find all of those links that Naomi provided. And we'll also be sending a copy of the recording as well, in case you want to watch it again or share it with others on your team. So thank you, Naomi, for all of that. We do have some time for a couple questions. I do want to thank once again our sponsor, NetRef. And Naomi did share some great information about how NetRef can empower EdTech decision making and really provide some rich data for your EdTech leadership teams to dive into and make some of those decisions. So let's go ahead and take the questions that we have in the time that we have left. We had a lot of questions around the EdTech teams themselves. And so when bringing together these diverse teams, how many years do you recommend different stakeholders, such as educators or librarians, serve on an EdTech leadership committee?
Well, that can be very diverse for each school district. Ideally, it would be great if they could serve a minimum of 2 years. But a lot of our school districts I work with have a commitment of 3 years. We know a lot of individuals switch school districts frequently sometimes, but a minimum of 2, if they can commit to 3 would be great. I worked on my own team when I worked in the Bangor, Wisconsin school district. I worked there. I was there for 7 years, and I was on their team for all 7 years because I was so committed and invested because I was the voice of our K-5 elementary. And it's empowering others to be part of that team is very important. And you do want to have individuals that are committed, but at the same time, it doesn't mean it's always the one that is always your go-getter. Sometimes partner an individual up from a school district that's really invested and also have a teammate. I call it a dynamic duo. Have another teammate or maybe 2 to represent your grade levels as a transformative trio, that you can have somebody that's very proficient with technology. You could have someone that's interested, but then also have a newbie that they want to learn more. So they're representing the voice and can actually articulate the questions that come and arise from everybody at every level.
Great, that was definitely some helpful guidance. And yeah, we definitely want to balance people's commitment and passion with continuing to bring in those diverse views and giving everyone a chance to lead. So that was helpful. We'll take one last question. We are running up against the end of our time, but I think this is an important one. Our school and district have separate curriculum decision-making teams from our EdTech decision team, and these things are so integrated these days. Do you have any recommendations on how to bring those committees closer together so that the decisions are more in line with the common goals?
That is an excellent question. And what we're seeing nationwide is that same scenario, because when curricular decisions are made versus technology decisions, we see that the two are not meshing or working very well together. Because of that, some of our school districts right now, not only if they keep those teams separate, they may still meet monthly or every other month, and it could just be for 30 minutes. It doesn't have to be a long meeting, but as long as everybody's on the same page saying, we're looking at investing in this type of software, we need to make sure it's compatible with this type of curriculum, and how is it impacting student learning and student achievement? but it does need to be brought together. Even if you have to still meet separately, there has to be a common time that you need to meet together, whether it's blended, that you will meet maybe face-to-face one time, the next time that you can do it online through a video conferencing. But it's important to articulate, because if the technology is purchased and not compatible with the curriculum, you're going to have a lot of money invested and a lot of money that is not spent well. So it's important that you do get those teams together and actually have a team member from each team look at the dynamics of the schedules when they're there and find a common meeting time.
Great. Well, I am sad that our time together has come to an end. This has been so helpful. And Naomi, we really appreciate your taking the time to share your expertise with us. And thanks to everyone in the audience who joined us today. I know it's at the end of a busy school day and coming up on the end of a busy year. So we appreciate your taking the time to join us. Again, just a reminder to keep an eye on your inbox for the link to the recording and the PowerPoint slide. And also, as you head into the summer, and maybe have a little more time on your hands, this was the last webinar in our spring series. So if you didn't have an opportunity to watch any of the previous 3 webinars, you can find them all on the NetRef website, which is net-ref.com, in the resources section. And they were a great series of webinars. We're happy to have concluded with Naomi today, but that can be a great PD opportunity for you this summer, and they're available at no cost. So check them out if you get a moment. And thanks again for joining us, and have a great afternoon or evening, everybody.